Yeah, I've just been wanting to make a quick AR15 video. I had a buddy bring one over yesterday that was jamming on him. He'd get a couple rounds through and it'd jam. And he come over, first thing I had him do, one tip about telling how your gun is running, if your timing's right and everything, is to watch where your empty casing comes out of your gun. When your gun's running perfect and everything's in time, when you shoot your gun and the bullet's coming back, as soon as it hits that spot, figure your gun is a clock. The barrel's 12 o'clock and this is 6 o'clock. It should throw your casing out at 3 o'clock, sort of horizontally, with the front facing the gun, come out like that and land about 4 or 5 feet from you, and actually just stack them right up on the ground, if it's running right. His was coming out, flipping out the back first, and landing at about 1 o'clock. And what caused that was the bolt was running super slow. And as it come back, the next round coming up hit this round and flipped it up out of the gun and flipped it out at 1 o'clock. Instead of flipping it, ejector throwing it out when it hit 3 o'clock. So we figured out, we put my bolt in it. I had an extra bolt sitting here. And that's sort of how it looks in the gun. You got your spring, your baffle, your bolt, your magazine, and your barrel. But we put my bolt in it. It shot every round perfect, never jammed, threw every one out exactly at 3 o'clock. So we come in, we took his bolt head. We took his bolt out of his bolt group, the head here. And we cleaned the rings. They were sharp. It was a new gun and everything was real sharp in there. We cleaned that, put it up back together. Put it back together, put it back in the gun. The gun shot perfect, or shot what looked like perfect, but instead of throwing the round out at 3 o'clock, it was throwing the round out at 5 o'clock. Right by my feet. I was standing about 5 feet away, back from it. It threw every round out right by my foot. So what was happening there, same thing was happening before, but a little bit later. The gun was slower before, and it kicked it up and kicked it out sort of on this angle and threw it out at 1 o'clock. What we did, we made it go back a little bit farther, but it still wasn't all the way in time. We made it a little faster, but it still wasn't in time, and it was hitting, and you can actually see there's a dent right there. That dent was where this bullet hit the next round that was coming up to go in the gun. Caused it to flip back. As that other one come up and hit it right there, this was back. It flipped it back this way and threw it back at 5 o'clock instead of 3 o'clock. So now when he shoots, not only is this still bumping and throwing this out at the wrong time, what happens there too is when the two bump together, that next round, instead of sliding in the gun like it's supposed to, held by the extractor on the bolt head, when they hit together, that next round just sort of flops up out of the mag and lays there, and the bolt goes shut. Yeah, it's working, but it's not working correctly. That's why you got this dent in the casing right there. And what'll happen, if you turn your gun sideways, it'll jam, because when that bullet pops up out, it'll want to fall out of the gun, because the bolt head isn't holding it by the extractor. So really, the gun worked, but not correctly. If I was working on that gun, I wouldn't have left it leave like that. But I was just sort of helping a buddy. If I was fixing that gun and charging somebody or building it to sell, it would never leave like that. Because what happens then, too, is every time the bullet just flies up there in front of the bolt when it hits and comes loose. And it gets jammed underneath this extractor. See that little ear right there by my thumb? That rim of your casing gets jammed underneath there and will eventually break that little lip off. That's why AR15s are known for their extractors breaking. A lot of guys carry an extra one with them. But if that bullet doesn't slide, say my thumb's the bolt head, when it hits it and slides it up out of there like it's sliding forward there, it's a little bit farther and it'll pop out of there. When it pops out of there, it pops right up into the bolt grabs it and actually controls it. It's under control, being held by the end as it goes into the feed ramp on the barrel. That's probably hard to understand the way I'm saying it. But the thing is, if you look at your gun, you have somebody watch your gun when you shoot it. If it isn't throwing them out at 3 o'clock, if it's throwing it out before 3 o'clock, you definitely got some kind of issue. If it's throwing it out after 5 o'clock, and you look and you don't have no dent on your casings like that, where they're hitting, well, that's also an indication that your spring is getting wore. When you first get your gun and everything's running right, this is your spring. It's throwing them out at 3 o'clock every time like it should out of here. At 3 o'clock, it's coming out of there and sort of throwing them like that angle. As this spring wears, you'll start noticing instead of coming out here at 3 o'clock like this, it'll start wanting to throw it at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. It's time to replace your spring. But I hope that sort of explains part of the problem or the issue. So you can actually shoot your AR, watch where your casings land, and you know if it's running healthy and correct and everything. If it's landing before, most of the time you got more of a problem than behind. If it's landing behind, it's an old used gun. You probably just got a little bit of war of a spring. But he left hoping his bolt would break in farther with him shooting it, and it'd be okay. But I didn't think about it till after he left. Yeah, he went out there and held it, and it shot and worked. But if he had held that gun where that porthole was down toward the ground, it would have jammed because the bullet's popping out of there loose when the two hit together. Whenever you got a dent on your casing like that, that shows your one bullet's hitting your other bullet, your empty round's hitting your loaded round coming up next, that possibly can kick that out of your mag, and the bolt just slams it in there. The bolt's going to slam it in there whether it's in the mag or not. But every time it slams it in there that it isn't in the mag, it's bending on your extractor. So your extractor, sooner or later, that little lip's going to break off. So even though the gun's running, you don't want to run it. If it's not coming out at 3 o'clock, you got to look, you got something wrong. You're either going to sooner or later break your extractor, or you're denting all your casing. Now I'm going to relook this video over and see if it makes any sense. I built this AR a few years ago. I just put it, I had that a 7.62 by 39 and I converted it back to a 223. I still have to, I got a heavy hammer spring in it I got to take out. The 7.62 by 39 takes a heavier spring. All right, everybody have a good day, and I hope I helped you out there. And oh yeah, you wanna take your buffer and you can weigh it. The weight of a carbine buffer is supposed to be 3 ounces. You see, that's 3.3. So if you're trying to figure out what your problem is with jamming and you're messing with your buffer, you want to weigh it and make sure it's 3 ounces. That's another tip or point there, I guess that's what you want to call it. All right, everybody have a good day. Hope that helped you out some. Click on my name and look at some of my other videos there, and I appreciate you watching. I'm back up to 219 subscribers. A couple shares, I forget what it is. Got to get some more gun videos out there. Get some gun people watching. I tried to rehearse this one, and I swear this is one of my worst videos. I'm better off if I just turn on the camera and talk, I think. Yeah, check out my other videos. Everybody have a good day, and hit some buttons there if you liked what you've seen, and get me some more subscribers. Thanks, and see you all later.